My name is Steven San Clemente. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm an ADAPT volunteer committee member. I'd like to welcome you to our Storycon event. We're here today to hear stories from Zillow employees, stories which relate to working through and overcoming challenges associated with mental health, physical disability, neurodiversity, trauma, and more. We hope through hearing these stories that you could gain hope, strength, and encouragement from the story of others. We also hope that you walk away from this Storycon event today with a better understanding of others' experiences and that you learn something new. Just as a reminder, we have two groups of people here: the storyteller who submitted their story anonymously and a reader who so graciously volunteered to communicate the anonymous storyteller's story. We thank both groups of employees for working with us to create this Storycon event, and we really hope that you enjoy it. Please take a moment to read our brief content warning, as some of the stories that you hear may be triggering in nature.
I'm Paige Cropper. Pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am a campus recruiter on the Early and Emergent Talent team, and I sit in Charlotte, North Carolina. Learning to be okay with starting over. I became disabled in my 30s after a head-on collision during an ice storm. I was an opera singer and theater performer in the evening after my regular job as an insurance manager. I often had 16-hour days and was always in motion. I developed fibromyalgia, which often comes up after a precipitating event like a car accident. I took an early retirement, ending my 16-year tenure at a job I loved. I had to use a walker and also developed syncope, brain lesions, and chronic pain. I was so certain after my accident that I would be okay that I even turned down insurance from the car accident. I had no concept of disability and felt very alone. I took Social Security disability for 7 years. I did this because I had a bad fall related to syncope that resulted in a terrible arm injury and subsequent infection, as well as 5 surgeries and home nursing for 6 months. It was a near-death experience because of the infection, and I became determined I wanted to go back to work. I had a gap in my resume, and I was so nervous about how I would explain that. I started by getting a work from home job that was part-time, setting up appointments and doing sales for a small business in the area. I loved it and gained skills quickly. I had a friend who worked for Zillow, and I saw the connections job posting, and it was so similar to what I was doing part-time. I got a referral and an interview right away. Zillow didn't even ask me about the gap in my resume, but concentrated on my current skills and long tenure with the previous employer of 16 years. I read everything I could about virtual interviews and taped a picture of my hubby and dogs above my camera so I can look at the picture and pretend I was talking to my family while interviewing. It went really well, and I got a job offer. I was so worried about moving to Denver to start the job and how my body would hold up. I asked for a few things to help me to do my job and was amazed at how Zillow got me an awesome ergonomic chair on my first day on the job. I took my chair all over the office with me because it helped so much. Zillow saw my potential and focused on my abilities, not on what was different about me. In my class, we also had a person with a service dog, and she often let me visit to gain comfort while I struggled through chronic pain during my early days. I was so shy when I started, and I was so nervous about my ability to handle a 40-hour work week. It was tough, with a lot of learning curves with technology. However, I found that there were LinkedIn courses to help me get up to speed, and I was given 1 hour of free work to take those development courses. I became a member of ADAPT, Zillow's internal ERG, and found my community. ERGs were new to me, I had never seen anything like that in corporate America. I also got involved with the Zillow group Over 40, another ERG, and helped plan the first virtual event called Pet Palooza. And we raised money for senior pets and rescues. It was an awesome experience. We became virtual, and I really found my voice and started to grow and expand my presence in equity and belonging. I took my advocacy for people with disabilities into Zillow and was welcomed with open arms. Having chronic illness and disability is challenging, but when the playing field is level, there is nothing we can't accomplish once we set our mind to it. I'm so appreciative that Zillow focused on what I brought to the table as my whole self versus focusing on the gap in my resume.
Hello, my name is Forrest McGuire. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am a program manager for the representation recruiting strategy team. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm going to read a story from one of our Adapt employees titled 1 Week Left to Live to Finding Hope. 1 week left to live to finding hope. I vividly remember the day I was diagnosed with anorexia and orthorexia at 17 years old. I was adamant that there was no way I could have an eating disorder, as in my eyes, I was the epitome of health. And yet, at my severely low weight, 26 beats per minute heart rate, and overall body deterioration, I was the farthest thing from health. I was actually near death, about 1 week left to live if I continued on the way I was living. My recovery journey began in a hospital bed, and then a second hospital bed, and then finally a treatment center for 3 months during my first semester at college. I look back at those times, know that that person would never believe that I would be the strong, resilient, empathetic, and empowering person I am today. Throughout my 10 years of recovery, I have learned so much that not only supports me in my recovery journey, but also in my overall life. As movement has been such a huge part of my life, from the earliest of ages, I had to relearn how to move in a sustainable way. This led me to find yoga and learn how to move in a way that taught me how to move from a place of self-love and not depletion. It led me to understand my mind deeply and how to spend years rewiring my brain, as my brain no longer functioned normally. It led me to learn how to find acceptance and self-worth when I did not know if I ever could. It led me to live a life of vulnerability and authenticity. It showed me, most importantly, that recovery and life is non-linear. It has led me to start my own yoga business, become a run coach, and be an advocate for mental health, and now write a memoir documenting my story in the hopes of empowering and supporting those around me to know they are never alone. It also led me to this incredible community of Adapt, Zillow's internal employee resource group. I look back at my 17-year-old self, depleted, defeated, and extremely scared, wondering, why do I have an eating disorder? I wish I could go back and tell myself that one day, what I thought would defeat me would be my superpower. That this illness would not defeat me, but it would empower me in a way of living life of vulnerability, inclusivity, bravery, and empowerment. That it would show me why mental health is so important, and that each step is part of a never-ending journey filled with peaks, valleys, and everything in between. That I will rise again and again, resilient, stronger, and supported by a community of love. That it would lead me to pause and ask these continuous questions in a group of humans who also celebrated their unique superpowers. What if, instead of creating spaces of shame and stigma, we created spaces of bravery and vulnerability? What would it look like if, instead of robotically saying, "I'm fine," when asked how you are, you answered authentically and openly, or even better, asked each other, "How is your heart?" What if instead of looking at our differing abilities as weaknesses or parts we have to hide, we shift our lens and view them as our superpowers? What would it look like and feel like to be able to show up authentically, fully, just as you are?